Hold on. You sound a little upset. You mad, huh? My crew too fresh. You mad, huh? See us flexing in these streets. You mad, huh? Diversity of thought. You mad, huh? Educated black men. You mad, huh? Philly won the Super Bowl. You mad, huh? Dallas blew 60 mil. You mad, huh? Aggie pride in your face. You mad, huh? 5 newts in this group. You mad, huh? Welcome to the 10th episode of the You Mad Huh podcast, a podcast conceived out of brotherhood and presented with love. I want to thank everyone for joining in. Want to do a quick introduction of our panelists for this week. You guys know them, but we'll introduce them again. We have Ken Merritt. They call him the intellectual Omar Little of the DMV. He goes around popping mother suckers for no reason and taking their ish. Right? So watch out on these streets.
That's a good one, Big.
We have Richard Free. We just call him Rich. At a rally, he once smacked Trump on the ass and said, "Good job, my." All right. We have Raymond Cooper. We call him Quake, and he has dirt bikes are for punks tattooed on his forearm. Quake don't mess with these dirt bikes. We have Tyrone Bond, straight out of Saginaw, Michigan. And just remember, Draymond isn't doing all this stuff on his own. Ty is pulling the strings. All right, we have Anthony Humphrey. We just call him Hump. The Tar Heels have Trump as their head coach, and Dallas still sucks, so he's definitely mad. And then we have me, Paul Fleming. I wear shorts year round and talk shit all day. So that's our panelists for the day. I want to welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. So we have a really kind of underreported topic to discuss this weekend. It's Trump and the media and his attack on the media. And you know, where's that really leading us? So there's a few things that kind of tie into that. But we saw the defunding of the federal government of NPR and PBS. We've also seen the proposed 100% tariff on films made outside of this country. Trump's also had a couple of lawsuits against news agencies. He thinks they can get a fair shot, depending. And then it also includes social media. With his first presidential term, I think he got kicked out of what was Twitter. It's now X, so he got banned from that. I believe Facebook as well. But he got in good with Elon Musk, and now he's back on X and back on social media, controlling that narrative. So we want to talk about all these things in relation to this administration, exactly what they're doing and why it's important. I think that's the key thing. And I think two of these members will have something to say about this. But let's start off with the defunding of NPR and PBS. You want to chime in first, Ken?
Yeah, briefly, because I think it is typical authoritarian behavior, right? That he that controls the media, controls the message and starts to drive, narratives and sentiments, and kind of accomplish the things that they want, right? And what's probably most disturbing about, I find two things disturbing about where we are. Right? One, that Americans, we've kind of set ourselves up for this to happen, right? I'm reading that only a third of Americans even think that they get fair media coverage, right? That the media is actually fair, and that's on the heels of media being kind of a fragmented thing that skews towards kind of one way or the other. And so is it the chicken or the egg that's gotten us into this? People's trust or the way the media behaves? And what Trump's done is essentially take advantage of that. And for him, you know, he's got, to your point, he's got folks who are starkly delivering his message for him all the time, in the Fox Newses of the world, the X's of the world, etc. Then he's got his direct himself, his own media, social media network, True Social, right? And so, you know, he's got that. So what else is he to do but then to kill and go after where he can those that seemingly are neutral, right? Notice he's not necessarily trying to go after CNN and MSNBC. He's already discredited them with a large part of people who've leaned his way anyway. So when you look at PBS or NPR, which for the most part try to give us more of a, let's call it, pure perspective without the frills of the left or the right.
No.
You'll get your moment. Let me finish. Then he has then it's an obvious tactic that he should use to kind of go after those guys. And so I'll turn it over to Rich now, because I'm sure he's going to tell us why PBS and NPR are left-leaning like education in this country.
Yep. You got a rebuttal for that, Rich?
Yeah, they did some research on
who is they? Go ahead.
The government, the current government, the current administration.
Well, I got
I mean, this is factual. I mean, you can look this up.
We know they deal in facts. Go ahead.
87. It's either 87 or 93 of the editors that work for NPR. Every single one of them was a Democrat. Now, if you guys think that you're getting a fair assessment of what is going on when all of the editors are from another party, then there's nothing that I can say that'll sway how you feel about it. I'm being honest about the fact.
You can't say 87 93 and say
the exact number. I'm being honest about the fact that I don't know the exact number. Either way, every single one of them were Democrats. They had a hearing on Capitol Hill, and they were asking the lady, I think her last name is Marr, who was the CEO at the time of NPR. And they asked her, was she aware of it? And she said she didn't know, and that it was troubling to her.
But Rich, I mean, but there's two things. There's two things fundamentally troubling about that, right?
Okay, balloons. Okay, balloons.
Number one, it's more of the narrative, right? That they must be Democrats, right? First of all, you don't know that to be true.
No. That is a factual statement that they found out that all of the editors
about it
editor was a Democrat.
Is I just heard you say it. Just because they said it don't mean it's fact to me.
Because where are you getting your news from?
So
the one that we know
on C-SPAN.
So hold on, fellas. One at a time. One at a time.
C-SPAN.
Let me ask go ahead. Continue.
Because this is important too.
Just
because they're Democrats doesn't mean that the news that they report aren't facts either.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's just narrative that you and they, so to speak, have latched on to try to discredit it. It is exactly the point I made when I said at this point, like, just step back to the macro of what I said, that he has outlets that are indirectly driving his message and the one directly driving his message. And so when you get one that's in the middle, the first thing they want to try to do is discredit that neutral thing, NPR, PBS. And so they found a way to do it by saying, 90x whatever number or percentage, whatever it is, Oh, they must be.
And it doesn't matter what the number is, Ken. And it goes back when it comes down to this. This has been his playbook since back in his business days. You look at the interviews he had with Barbara Walters when she called him out on facts. He's been calling the news everything that doesn't agree with him is fake.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter. That's just the playbook. Regardless, he's been saying this since before the politics. And if you say it enough to the right people, they'll start to believe anything.
Yep.
This has been his playbook since his business days. When she called him out, gave him fact by fact. And every time he talked to somebody, if it's something positive, nothing to say. But if it's somebody else that's against him or just that he thinks is a little skewed, it's fake news. It's okay for people not to agree with you. Be the grown man in the room. Be the president. So did Obama say, hey, every time Fox News asked him a question, did he say, hey, fake, you guys are skewed? Did he call them out the other way because they didn't agree? Did Bush, did any other president before now? Because again, this is nothing new.
No.
Yeah, we agree that things are skewed. Okay, that is nothing new in politics or in our world. But this is the first time that every time someone disagrees, he has to call them out being fake or not real, or you are a nasty person. Well, we know who the nastiest person in the room is. It's okay for people not to agree with you. We know that this country is divided. So 50% of people are not going to believe you or agree with you, and 50 will. And it's okay. This is nothing new. Why does this man feel like everybody has to?
I don't think that you're honest with yourselves in the sense that that scale is sliding. There's a lot of people who are really starting to see just the treatment of this one individual.
If it's 70%,
who's only been in
Hold on for a second, fellas.
Who's been in politics for less than 7 years.
Hold on for a second. Let me ask you a question, because I actually listen to NPR, and NPR is very, very fair. So in your
opinion,
hold on, Rich. It is a very fair. Here's the thing: if you're saying that that Democrats always have to lean democratically, Republicans always lean Republican, they can't be fair in any way. I clearly disagree with that. Just because someone is a Democrat doesn't mean that they can't follow facts. They can't be honest about what they're reporting, because before now, hold on, not done. So to say that a network like NPR is unfair, I see very few things that you can consider even political things on a regular basis on NPR. To be honest, most of their stories are not about politics.
There you go, Paul.
NPR, PBS are as down the middle, even keeled as you are going to get, right? As you're going to get in this country. They give fair information on both sides, in my opinion, if it comes to that, right? So I listen to them. That's how I know that whole thing is a lot of BS, because I listen to them. I listen to NPR, PBS not so much, but definitely NPR, and you can't get any more non-political, in my opinion, than NPR. And even if it's a social issue, it's never blatantly something that's, if they cover something about transgender people, it's a story about transgender people. It's not to the point to say, hey, they should have this or they should have that. It's an actual news story. It's actually someone that covered it and just looked at the facts of the case. So, that's why I don't really buy into this. I think it's a bad move for them to cut funding because this shows how really slanted to one direction this administration is, in my opinion.
So Paul, the whole premise behind this was Trump called it liberal disinformation machine, right? That's what he started with. So it's skewed from the beginning. The intent is to steal the voice of sound reason, to make the agenda and the narrative to be specifically driven by anyone that agrees with him. Right. That's it, period. I don't understand how we're missing. I don't care what anyone says about what you feel with regard to how many employees voted a specific party. That's malarkey.
Did Quake just say malarkey?
We know we work amongst people every single day that have not voted in the same particular parties that we may have voted, but it doesn't steal the voice and the sound of reason that you get to share. We all get an opinion.
Now, I thought the freedom of speech.
But the bias is he's taking the opinion away. So it's only one narrative that's being conveyed. That's the problem.
How are those organizations funded? How are they funded?
And that's the point.
The funding is not. Go ahead, Huck.
But that's the point. And I was going to answer the question, Paul, because you mentioned NPR and PBS, and they are both publicly funded. And that is the reason why I believe this administration feels that they can go after them first. It kind of aligns with the cost-cutting approach that they have. And it's easy to say, well, we're cutting this because they're printing and they're broadcasting biased standpoints anyway, so they're useless. And let's be real, it's no secret that the criticism of the media has become a central tactic for not just this administration, but for political leaders in recent years. But the current administration is taken to a new level. They're discrediting legitimate reporting, labeling journalists as enemies of the people, telling followers not to believe what you see and hear. But let's not forget that the First Amendment protects freedom of press for a reason. A healthy democracy depends on it. It's the media that exposes corruption. They investigate abuses of power, and they give the public the information they need to make informed decisions. Now, if you start stripping that away, you're hiding corruption. You're not allowing for any abuses of power, because that's not taking place, right? And you give the public the information. If you take all that away, now you're making uninformed decisions, not informed decisions. That is constantly being undermined, and every unfavorable headline is dismissed as fake. It creates an alternate reality, right? It breeds distrust, not just in the media, but the facts themselves. So now the facts don't matter because you just discredit every source out there except the one that you're pushing. So no one knows what's real and what's fake. And that's very, very dangerous.
It is.
That's where we are now. So don't let facts get in the way of a good story. Because again, no matter what the question is, oh, you're from that fake organization. So it's not about the question. The question can be as real and as direct as you want to be. So the first thing I'm going to keep saying it, because you say it enough. And that's just his playbook. Right. Say it enough, and then it doesn't matter. Like you said, it doesn't matter what they say after that, because
so hold on.
Are going to follow regardless.
With that same argument, couldn't you say that about them saying 34 felonies, 34 felonies, 34 felonies?
Does he have 34?
That's
does he have 34?
That's
does
facts.
he have 34? That's facts.
Lawfare. Lawfare. Lawfare.
So again, you gotta come back for everything. But the fact that he's a 34 felon, which is why he freed so many today that helped join him. I know.
There is freedom of the press, and they have the right to inculcate us daily with certain things. I mean, we just went through a psyop over the COVID thing, telling us that the vaccines were safe. So y'all trust the media on everything? I mean, y'all don't see everything.
No, because we can think.
It's not.
We don't trust on everything.
Y'all don't see.
We don't trust on everything.
Y'all don't see nothing questionable. Y'all think 9/11 was exactly as they said it was?
Rich, huh? Trump took the vaccine. He told the people
I know,
that was safe.
And I've given that example as to how I don't trust him fully. I've given that example to many people that say that I'm faithful to it.
The vaccine saved his life.
I remember it thoroughly, and I remember every time how he announced that he was the one who made sure the vaccine came out fast. The vaccine
Hey, Rich, can I ask you a question? Do you take that same approach every time that you hear something that he says 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago, and he contradicts himself today? Do you take that same approach? Does that continue to increase your distrust in him? Because it happens quite a bit. I'm just curious as to how you view that when he flip-flops on something that he said before and how he says it today.
It was in the moment when all of this was going on that I didn't like him being pumped about the vaccine. I didn't trust it from day one.
You didn't answer the question, though.
You didn't trust him with the vaccine.
Okay, well, that's the question that I have for you. Be more specific, because I told you just now what it was that made me not trust him on that level. Give me another example. Don't just say.
The list is pretty long, Rich. But start with electric vehicles. Let's go with electric vehicles. Let's go there. There's publications. I mean, it's on press. It's not something made up. It's not deep fake, where he talks about he doesn't trust electrical vehicles. They run out of gas. You can't go anywhere with them. But he had, I don't know how many vehicles on the front lawn of the White House pumping them up, saying, I'm going to buy one of these. Kind of flip. That's another example, but I'm sure there's more. We can keep going if you want.
It's issues like that I consider to be nuanced. I bet you,
okay,
if you were to ask him what he would prefer, it would still be a gasoline vehicle. I mean, it's a part of the industry that ain't going nowhere. Electric vehicles aren't going anywhere. Elon Musk is his buddy. It doesn't.
Whether he's old dumbass know the difference between an EV and gas or not. Because if you want to say, well, I don't trust him, do you want to take something that happened yesterday, or do you want to go all the way back to 2008?
Because the list is pretty long.
Started undercutting Obama. You know what I mean? He's done a million things to tell us why we shouldn't trust him. If that's what you're talking, I'll ask you a question around flip-flopping. This guy, by a media count, lied 30,000 times during his first administration. Right? He's lied about him. He lied about an election. Fuck EVs. He lied about the most important thing in our democracy. You picked this COVID thing.
That election was
Kid, hold on, Kid, quick question. You mad, huh? Let me ask Rich a quick question. Is this the first time I've ever heard you say that you don't fully trust Trump? Has it always been that way, or did you just come to that realization
listen, anybody who gets to a level of leadership, they shaking hands. There's secret deals. Now I'll say,
and not so secret. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll say this: his policies align with, my faith in God. It aligns with, men not participating in women's sports. Them not voting.
God, why does that always come up? Who gives a fuck?
The mutilation. Okay, so I don't get to talk.
Hold on.
Damn.
We're gonna get to go ahead. No, go ahead, Rich. Go ahead. Continue.
Same shit.
Hold on. Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead, Rich.
I'm not for the mutilation of children's genitals. I'm not for men and women's restrooms. I'm not for pushing the whole homosexual agenda. I believe that Sodom and Gomorrah happened. I believe in, you can read multiple chapters of First, Second Corinthians, First Kings, Second Kings.
Let me stop you for Rich.
Countries were destroyed because of their
play
from what God intended.
Let me stop you for a second, because this is going to lead into our next episode. So hold that for a minute. Hold that. So we're talking about media. We want to stay on this media topic, and Trump mentioned that he was thinking about 100% tariff on foreign-made movies. Okay, so up to this point, it's been news outlets for the most part that are reporting on him. But I thought about this, and when you talk about the movie industry, that is how we somewhat document history going forward, right? For future generations. So it seems like there might be some, I don't want to say assault, but some entry into trying to control what is made and what people see on that level. because a news broadcast, you hear it, it goes away. But a movie, they make this movie, and it's out there forever. I believe it. I'm not trying to say that Trump is Hitler, but Hitler did that. He had people that made movies to make things look a certain way or appear a certain way to the people of Germany. So when you can control every realm of media, even this long-term stuff that gets played over, it could be played over and over and over for years and years and years. How important could that be that this administration actually starts determining, what Hollywood and what movies actually get made and what people see? Is that an important thing, or is it just another thing to try to make more money for, movie, people associated with the movie industry in America? Am I just overthinking that? Go ahead, Kevin.
Go ahead.
P, I actually respectfully think you probably giving too much credit for this one. I don't think he's I think he's just shooting from the hip. I think someone told him that movies were done overseas, and he didn't like that because he's prejudiced against everything done offshore, and money ought to come back here. I don't think this is part of his message control mind shit as much as he's just movies that used to be done in California or here are now being done in Europe. Right. And so we can't have that. Right. So I think as much as a money grab, him doing dumb shit, that it is his authoritarian control the message thing. This is my opinion.
I just
Gotcha.
I agree with you. I agree with you too, Paul. I'm with Ken on that one. I think you're overthinking a little bit but if you go back to episode 4 or 5, like I said, when I went to the museum with my daughter, I mean, the whole media thing is right out the playbook. It's as simple as that. You control that, you control the narrative and everything. But I'm with Ken. I think I think just like he's trying to bring back, get those cell phones made here so we can pay $4,000 for the phone. I think he that's how he thinks. Let me just bring that job back when there's a job that won't be able to get done here.
wrong.
But of course,
So
Rich gonna have something else to say because again, Lord Trump is. Go ahead, Rich.
Let's see what you got to say, Rich.
Can I start off by asking each of you? You can think in your mind on this.
Mm-hmm.
How much do advertisers pay for 30 seconds during the Super Bowl?
Millions.
They take millions of dollars, man.
Okay. Now they would do that because it has an effect on the way people perceive things, correct?
No, they do it because that's advertising. You want people to see your
branding, advertisement, increase in purchases and sales, marketing, all that's in the
So I want to elaborate on why Hollywood is actually the Ministry of Culture. They are another propaganda machine. And you are right, Hitler did do that. But I think his concern is that when you go to a country that could potentially be a hostile enemy, they could persuade the narratives of movies to portray us in a negative light. Because, as you guys said so eloquently earlier, there is freedom of the press. So they can make any kind of movie they want. But if they go and make it in communist China, who is friendly to them, and they tell them, oh, no, you can make it here, sir, but you must not put this in the film. It must have this. You could have an effect on the culture of the society. It is
that's right. Just like here, if you take Black history out of libraries and don't, you're right. You're exactly right.
If that's how you feel, Rich, that's how you feel. Ken, you got something?
That's how I feel. It has the potential to be that. I'm not saying
has that ever happened? In all the years of making films, have you heard anybody make that argument that people are trying to persuade, directors to not put this or that in a movie? I've never seen
it. They never sit there and say, message, this is to make you think a certain way. But I can think back when they played the Will Smith Karate Kid movie with Will Smith's son, right? Okay. They had the moment where Jackie Chan is helping them with the hot water heater. and it's like this new age, cheap Chinese way of doing it that's different from what we have here. You know, old school houses got the hot water heaters. Now we have the tankless, but I think theirs was tankless. And he besmirched our style of warming water in his comment. Now, I mean, you can chuckle. I mean, listen. What I'm trying to say to you is there are different things in movies that you don't necessarily pick up on, but they are trying to
and it
send
might
a subtle
be,
message.
but it's freedom of speech. If it is, we are educated enough to figure it out ourselves. We can't spoon feed. But even if we're not, if we still got the right to be dumb if we want to be, I'm learning that. So it's okay. It's okay. You can't tell someone how to think or what to do or what to put out.
When you take into consideration,
he's not trying to stop it. He just want to control it.
When you take into consideration the main job of the president is to protect its citizens. And
like he did on
for whatever reason,
right?
For whatever reason, Democrats and the left have been convinced that an open border is safe. That's not a threat to society.
Can we stick to the media? Let's stick to the media.
Well, what I'm trying to say is
stick to media.
The media has the ability to steer and direct our perception of things. It just does. It just does. I mean,
that's what.
So does Trump, just like the insurrection, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you listen to the speech, he didn't tell them to go do it.
So he did.
We didn't finish about film real quick, Paul. We just got.
Go ahead.
Hump raised our hands. Hump, you go ahead.
Go ahead. You guys have something to say. Go ahead. Continue.
I'll see the Hump, and then I'd like to go after.
So go ahead, I don't think that we can undervalue the alignment around the tariffs, that whether you agree or disagree with them. If you watch a lot of major television, you watch a lot of major movies, Canada does have a huge film industry. And a lot of movies, whether they're portrayed in major cities, are filmed in Toronto, Vancouver, Quebec City, Montreal. So they're big industries. So aligning those with a tariff, I think is more holding the line against Canada and Mexico and what we're trying to do there. And I think that's probably where it started. And I think we fed into a lot more of it, i.e. influencing from hostile countries, i.e. Better water heaters or whatever. Those same messages can be made out of Culver City, California, as they can in Afghanistan. So I think there's very little credibility to that, but I don't think we can ignore the economic impact that it could have for films that are shot a lot, which are quite a few outside the United States.
It's the same thing with music, huh? The
same thing in music.
Back in that day, we grew up in the 80s, 90s, and they had the positivity and all that good stuff. But hey, that didn't get greenlit. All those, when we talked about Black Power and fight all that 80s, late 80s, 90s. I mean, they'll tell you the story. We've seen it over and over again. They want the crazy stuff because that's what sells.
I just come back to the point of
same thing.
You can't cherry pick these things when it suits your agenda, and that message that you gave, Rich, I'm sure you pulled it from somewhere else, but that's a cherry pick. That's a cherry pick on movies that are made outside the United States.
And who signed the crime bill when rap made that hard pivot? Who was it that signed the crime bill?
I think Biden did.
And then all the music that was being played moved from being pro-righteous and positive and uplifting to all of a sudden everything was about slinging keys.
Okay. And again, Biden no producer.
I don't care who because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who, because it's not a Republican or Democratic thing. That's a United States thing.
I want to talk about just quickly here social media in this whole deal, because social media is actually probably more of a impactful area nowadays that it is, and it's going to be going forward than say movies maybe, or even TV. Like kids don't even really watch TV a lot. Like my kids don't really watch TV. So they get all their information via social media. So the takeover of social media with X being bought by Elon Musk, but then we also look at the taking away of fact checkers. Meta completely said we're getting rid of these fact checkers. They moved their whole department to Texas as opposed to California, simply because of the what they thought might be a slant from people in California versus Texas. So you went from one end to the other. Hold on. I'm not done. Hold on. Okay. But my point is, social media is really the new territory to be concerned about. Okay. So is it concerning that we are taking away fact checkers in social media? Because now, at least before, there was something that may have said, hey, this may not be 100% correct, or this may not be correct. Now it's just people read it and they just go on. They just think it's true. So you
guys have become real good at fact checking me, and I appreciate you. But I'll tell you this: who fact checks the fact checkers? Maybe there's a reason, Paul.
It'll never end. I know
that the fact checkers are not doing a good job. That the fact checkers, I've seen certain exposés that said that the fact checkers were not necessarily aligning with facts.
I bet you're getting all your news and exposés.
So you asked the question. You asked the question, Rich. I'm going to answer you. So most of the things that these people are fact checking are very easily proven or disproven just by searching multiple media sources, right? So now we're going to say, okay, well, anything on CNBC or anything that's on ABC or NBC or CBS is not valid, and anything on Fox is valid. Or we're going to have people that say everything on Fox is invalid, and everything on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN is invalid. Some things are very easy to check, because there are multiple sources across the world that are reporting on these things. That's why I say that the fact checking is very easy, in my opinion, for what I've seen, because you can search multiple sources and they're going to give you the same answer. So like, that's why if you send me stuff sometimes and I check it, you can confirm it by a few different sources. It's not hard to confirm. The problem is the administration doesn't like that their information can be fact checked, is what I think is a problem. So that's why I say, Pete, go ahead.
And Pete, with all due respect to Rich, the part of the problem is your side. We can't even agree on what a fact is. You guys have completely. See what I mean? That's the whole notion that you said. Who's going to check the fact check? As if a fact isn't something that's easily proven, right? We've gone down this road for ever since 2016 or 2015 or whenever your boy bust on the scene, right? That from the time that what was his assistant, someone who said we have alternative facts.
Don't be so overly dramatic about it, Chuck. You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that. But the point remains.
Alternative facts? Alternative facts, 4 of the 5 facts he uttered. The one thing he got right was Zeke Miller. 4 of the 5 facts he uttered were just not true. Look, alternative facts are not facts. They're falsehoods.
That now we can't even agree on what facts are. And so back to your question around whether we need facts anymore. I'm really cynical about social media, so that's my preference to this. I'm not so sure we do need fact checkers, because the social media platforms are becoming just like the TV networks, right? That if you are the same people that watch Fox News are now on X, right? The same people who and people who used to be on Twitter and left when it became X, and Elon Musk took it and turned it into a right-leaning thing. And most of those people with the blue sky. So the MSNBC Blue Sky folks are all the same, and so all their facts are one set of facts, and then the other side has their other, and there is no good place anymore where folks who trust whatever people are going to trust whatever they trust anyway. So I'm not so sure. I blame Meta and of course X, especially with Musk, who's dishonest ass the moment he took over, it became bullshit to me. But all of those things, they have lost credibility in many ways because they have followed the unfortunate trend that the media has anyway of heading down these paths. And so why put left-leaning fact checkers on X when no one's going to believe them anyway?
Right. Yep. So I want to mention something. So as to how powerful social media has become, and we can tell that Trump, Elon Musk, they're getting their information from social media, right? And here's a prime example. I'm going to post this a link in the video, the final edit. But Elon Musk did an interview with Don Lemon a while back. If you guys watched that, and one of the points of that interview that Elon Musk tried to make was that standards for medical professionals, for doctors, were being lowered. This is what he was implying, so that more minorities, more women could get their medical license. That was his assertion. And Don Lemon said, "Hey, where did you get this from? Because that's not true." And he said, someone posted it on X. Wait for the replies to come in.
So listen, let's talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, that's been a target of yours lately on X. There was a repost of Ben Shapiro that you claim that DEI is killing people. Specifically, you point to medicine. You claim that DEI programs are putting people at risk. Do you really believe this to be true? And what evidence do you have to support it?
What I was referring to there was that if we lower the standards for doctors, such so that they, if the test for a doctor is lowered, then the probability of them making a mistake and killing someone is obviously going to be higher.
Wait, say that again. I'm not sure I understand what you said. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
Yes, if the standards for passing medical exams and becoming a doctor, or especially something like a surgeon, if the standards are lowered, then the probability that the surgeon will make a mistake is higher. They're making mistakes in their exam. They may make mistakes with people, and that may result in people dying.
What evidence do you have, though, that they're lowering the standards? There's no evidence of that.
I believe there is.
There's no evidence of that, Elon. What is the evidence?
I believe they have literally lowered the standards at Duke University, and that is what the article was referring to.
There's no evidence.
Saying they have not lowered the standards?
There's no evidence about lowering standards, and I think that there is.
I believe that is a false statement you're making.
Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I think
the interesting thing is, when this is posted on the X platform, there will be a whole bunch of things that rebut what you said and what I said,
right.
And so people can then make their own decision based on the replies, and the rebuttals, and the community notes.
I think that's fair, but I do think that on this particular topic, I do think that you and Ben Shapiro are reaching in about this, because there was what Ben posted said that he gave instances of people who were deliberately harming people. Nowhere in the thread does Ben suggest at all, I should say, that anyone is being killed as a result of DEI. That's purely speculative. There's research on DEI and medicine, and there's no evidence that standards are being lowered, that DEI is affecting medicine. Actually, only 5% of doctors are black, and a small percent.
Yeah, I think you'll find that when this is posted to the X platform, that people will reply to it with evidence.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see.
Okay. So
that was this is the richest, supposed to be the richest guy in the world, is getting his information from replies on X. That's how powerful this social media has become, who it's influencing. And to refute that, there was another interview with Tucker Carlson and this an actual doctor, and the title was medical standards are being lowered for DEI, right? Well, I watched that interview, and in the interview, the doctor, who's a Caucasian male, he's an older guy, he's probably 60 something. His first point about unqualified doctors, he referenced a white male.
Watching young surgeons come out that have no business operating by themselves. And
you've seen that?
I've seen that. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Was this someone who's out of medical school?
This is a fully trained surgeon, just opened a practice in my community, and he didn't last very long. It became very obvious soon because in small hospitals you can't hide that he was not very competent, and he eventually moved on. I don't know where he went or what he did.
But it was obvious to you just from looking down. This guy was not.
This guy had no clue how to close an abdomen. I mean, it was really bizarre. And that's kind of an extreme example.
How did he become a surgeon?
That's the thing. Lowered standards, basically.
Was this person from a protected racial group or?
No, he was not. He was your heteronormative white male like me, basically.
But he was incompetent.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first thing he did. The second thing is when he talked about lowering standards.
Whoa. Because
hold on, I'm not done. I'm not done, Rich. Let me listen. Just listen. Because the whole thing is they're lowering standards for DEI. That was the point of that was the tagline of the interview. Right. So his first example was of a white doctor who was woefully unqualified. That's the first thing. The second thing is when he mentioned lowering standards, he said they're not intentionally lowering standards. They're doing things like not requiring doctors to be on 24-hour shifts, things of that nature. And my thought was that's a good thing.
Stick back a second to when you ask about quality and how it's gone down. It's not a conscious thing. It's not been deliberate. I don't think that we have gone out deliberately to create a decline in the quality of surgery. I think a lot of circumstances have come together to do that. One was in 2003, the American Graduate Medical Education. They came out and they took a law that was basically confined to New York from 1964 and made it nationwide. And that law was a reduction of residency hours. In other words, you can't take a trainee in any medical specialty and make them work more than 80 hours a week or more than 24 hours at a stretch.
But his third example, or his example of a qualified doctor, was an African American or African female doctor who was actually an excellent doctor.
Think about for example, Celia Nelson, the female Jamaican black surgeon that was on the Zoom call with me. She's worked as hard as anybody to get to where she is. She's an excellent surgeon. I mean, she's experienced racism. I mean, she'll tell you flat out. Yeah, when she first arrived there, people wouldn't mistake her for, asked her to get a cup of coffee in the surgeon lab. Right. Those sorts of things. And she also noticed that sometimes when she'd walk into a examining room in the emergency room, that the look she would get was, who is this? Is this someone good? And she's worked through all that. Okay, she's worked through that. She just put her head down. She worked hard. And now she says what happens is when she goes into the ER, that patient has already heard from multiple staff what a wonderful surgeon they're getting, that she's going to be in there to see them. So, I mean, she's earned her place, okay? But think how unfair it is for the people coming up now, the minority, if you will, surgeons that have to face this idea when they go into a room. That person may look at them and say, gee, is this a DEI hire, or is this a person that really...
I think everyone thinks that.
That went through, that got here because of their excellence, because of their excellent academic performance in college and medical school, because of their excellent performance in their residency, because they met all the standards, the standards that everyone should have to meet, or am I getting someone who's a little bit less because of this? And
of course, you're getting someone less. You're getting someone less, overwhelmingly, and that's obvious. And it has nothing to do with race, by the way. It's that preferences are always destructive of excellence. So
So the tagline was supposed to make this out to be that DEI is causing this, whole lowering of standards, when no lowering of standards was ever happening. And the two examples that were given were the complete opposite of what everybody thinks. That minorities, females, black people are always unqualified and white people are qualified. And this is a white doctor. This is Tucker Carlson in the interview, right? But the tagline is DEI is causing, lower standards. That's all a lot of people will see. They won't even listen to the full interview in this day and time. It was a fairly long interview. People won't even listen to that. So that's my point about social media, is that the power behind social media is, exponential almost in comparison to TV nowadays. Okay, Hup.
Yeah, just to echo that point, Paul. I mean, we gotta paint this for what it is. Social media, the X's, the Facebooks, and everyone else, they're not built to inform. They're built to engage, right? And to keep you these headlines that often have more emotion than accuracy, and the content we see is shaped by algorithms, not editors, right? So when the news is delivered and 280 characters, whatever it is, or a 15-second video, you lose, as Rich said, you lose nuance. Your nuances gets lost. The outrage spreads. You send it faster than you fact check it. And then you add the echo chambers around that we live in, and what you got? You got people who agree with you, or you got people who block you. And if we don't, then it's easy to see how the information thrives. And this is not new. I keep telling you, this shit is over and over again. This is how newspapers used to make their living back in the day. You catch a story, you send it to the next, you send it to the next, you send it to the next. The good thing about it was 9 times out of 10, it was usually more factual, but you could still spew the message that you wanted to. And here's where it gets political. Even leaders undermine traditional media and amplify partisan influences. They turn social media into a weapon, and the rewards are loyalty over the truth and the speed over the substance. And that's where we are with social media. So if you go into social media, get your news, I'm here to tell you, and that's where you get most of your facts. I'm here to tell you that you're off base. You're off base.
So are we at a point of no return when it comes to social media and, what we can do to make it more fair and more honest and more even? Or is it just going to go down a drain and completely just be worth nothing in the end?
I think it's what you want it to be at this point.
It's what how you want it to be.
I mean, it's
social media is
entertainment. It is what it is. It's like I said, it's like he just said, the entertainment. But hey, the horse out the barn now. So there's no fact checkers. Again, I don't know who called him a piccolo player, but anyway, whoever fact checks, it doesn't matter now. Like they said, we're out now. But if you're gonna do that, then you can't. I mean, you that should be wide open. Why do you try to control other media? And that's what I'm saying. You can't pick and choose what you want to control. So you don't want fact checkers, but yet you want to control what we see, the movies, the media. It makes no sense. Because in the end, all it is about is I want everyone to like me, and I want my facts to be your facts, and don't believe nothing else unless I say it or agree with it. And that's what it sounds like to me. I want to control everything, and that's where we are now.
Gotcha. Well, this has been a very engaging and intense conversation. Hopefully, it will spark some thought out there. But we want to jump to something a little more relaxing or laid back. We've got a new segment called Random Ish. All right, and I've entitled it This or That. So I've got a series of images where you're going to select one or the other. Okay. And each member on the panel has to give their
justification for selecting?
Justification and also just their selection. Yeah, sure. So I'm gonna drop in the first image here. So give me just a second.
You should have Black Sheep playing.
This or that. So
I got you, Paul. Put that in.
Comparison. All right. I think I'll get a copyright on that. So our first topic here is two choices are Tupac or Biggie. Hump, you jump in first because I know you're the music head.
Hey man, look, I'm out. All right, so I'm gonna throw a curveball on a lot of people on this, right? For years, I was Team Biggie, and I was Team Biggie because the impact that he had over the short time that he lived, and the fact that he was putting out hit after hit. Whether you liked his flow or not, his flow was almost impeccable. And he was a great storyteller. But from a social impact, I think Pac had far more music that resonates with what was going on. After he did his bid, he came out with that West Coast crap that was, a little bit more commercial and a little bit more, a little agitation to get sales. But I think music for music, song for song, and the depth, I got to go with Pac. Although I will play Biggie anytime I want to work out, ride the bike, or get my upside up.
Rich, and don't tell me you don't know that. Don't tell me you don't know nothing about Tupac and Big now.
You didn't have an answer. See,
all right, go ahead. Go ahead,
Rich. Biggie would be my guy. I can remember where I was, what I was doing when I found out he was killed. And I mean, like Hump said, I do think socially, Tupac probably his effect has reached and touched far more than Biggie. But I was always a Biggie fan.
All right, bet. Ty, I know you, Mr. R&B, the R&B king. I know you know these two. I know you know these two.
I'm going with Tupac myself. I'm a Biggie fan too, but some of the lyrics and some of the songs I've heard about. So back in the day, we were just kind of singing it, but it was some puffy stuff in some of those lyrics. some of those lyrics that you listen to now, like, yeah. Right. So
because I like them young, fresh, and clean.
Say green. That's what I was thinking.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We could have thought that, but you gotta admit. When the intro of that song hits, your head starts bobbing. It's one of the hardest intros ever. Relax to take notes. Oh, come on.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm with you, Ty.
All right, Quake.
Hey, man, I'm Team Tupac. I like Biggie. I get down with Biggie's music, but I've been rocking with Tupac since the Digital Underground days, man. And again, the depth of where he touched. I mean, he goes from Dear Mama to Brenda's Got a Baby to Me Against the World to, to America's Most Wanted with him and Snoop. I mean, Pac is that dude, man.
All right, drop it on him, Quake.
I was going to say, can you be more specific?
All right. So we got 3 for Tupac. Looks like Tupac's going to take this, but Ken, what you got?
Team Tupac. And my rationale is when it comes to lyrics and all that kind of stuff, I've always stayed out of that because I dig them both. I give the edge to Tupac because of just overall entertainment factor. When you think about all the music he did, but he also did Juice and Poetic Justice, and what I mean. Yeah, you got to get an edge to him for a bigger, more impactful overall kind of entertainment.
Okay, gotcha. Now, I this is my take on it. I agree with the people that selected Tupac. Culturally, probably overall, yes. And I hate to say it, I'm gonna say it like this: the white boys are always like, Big, all he did was talk about dealing drugs and chicks. That's true, but the lyricism is what I look at, right? Mm-hmm. Tupac definitely has the social aspect. He has songs I like, and people used to always say back in the day, you look like Tupac. You look like Tupac, right? I never really bought the Tupac albums, but Big lyric to me, son. Hey, look, Tupac looked like me, son. Anyway, Big, you got to remember, Big didn't just write his lyrics. He wrote other people's lyrics, right? Mm-hmm. Junior Mafia, right? And his lyrical style is what I like. I like that type of that New York type of style. Like people from the Midwest over to the West Coast, they like Big, but they can't really relate to him. because they can't really understand like East Coast stuff. But that's me all day. I feel that all day. I love both of them. I think they were both geniuses, but Big is my dude.
Come on, man. So in Juice, when your boy says, "Hey man, you trying to tell me ain't shit?" And Pac goes, "I'll tell your mama you ain't shit." That's your mama you ain't shit. I love it.
That's a movie though, man. I'm all on the hip hop shit.
That shit was hard.
All right. So let's move on to the next option. I'm not sure even what I put on this next one. It's gonna be pretty obvious though. Oh, here we go.
Oh, jeez.
Big Azz or Big Boobs?
Boy, you out of control.
Big Azz or Big Boobs? I didn't even make this recommendation. Somebody on this podcast did, and I'm not going to say who, but somebody on this podcast made the recommendation. That's where we got this idea. So we're gonna start. We're gonna start at the bottom this time. Kid Merritt, Big Azz or Big Boobs?
Big Azz. There isn't such thing as maybe too big though, but
true.
For the sake of this picture, give me the one. For the sake of this picture, whatever.
And we're not distinguishing between fake and not and natural.
Oh man, whatever. Come on. You gotta distinguish between that.
So we got one Big Azz. All right, Quake, moving up the ladder.
Give me Boobs, man.
All right, we back in effect.
Yeah, I that aesthetically they're good to look at, but they don't serve another purpose, man.
Hey, Trump took us back to the 60s and 70s. That's what was rocking this. So that's what we did. All right, Tom, what we got, man?
I can't see it. Can you blow it up some more for me? I've always been a breast man, and natural does matter. It does matter.
All right,
man. Absolutely.
Rich.
I always drank a lot of milk growing up, so really
they used to be chocolate
breast.
All right, Huh? What you got, Huh?
Hey, while those acid wash jeans are fairly impressive, I gotta go with the picture on the left and the chest. And again, the natural versus artificial does matter because artificial breasts are a turnoff, in my opinion, as well as artificial asses. Give me the breast side.
So in this day and age, that's crazy. We got was it 4 to 5 to 1 or 4 to 1? I think I'm going with the breast man this time too. I'm switching up. I used to be all ass back in the day. I'm switching up now. I'm going back to boobs. Back to the 70s.
But just for the record, I'm more interested in what's between their eyes and in the brain and what's on the body.
Whatever. Yeah. How many degrees she got on her?
Hey, just for clarification purposes.
Yeah,
it matters.
And,
so let's see.
And thigh to ass ratio doesn't matter too. That's why.
That is
absolutely
As the great Prince Hakeem once said, I want a woman who intellects my intellect as well as my nose.
My Lord.
Now, just to clarify,
the great Prince.
The first thing that I look at is hands and feet, though. If you ain't got hands and feet, I'm sorry, I'll never get to the other stuff. So, anyway.
Well, she got shoes on, Paul.
Hey, that's eventually you can be knocked out with that. So,
oh shit!
Wow.
What you got, fellas?
This is a hard one.
It ain't hard. It ain't hard.
I'm gonna start with Ty on this because this is more Ty's lane. What we got, Ty?
No. MJ from day one. That's hands down. Again, I'm not knocking Prince because he is a genius. And boy, I've done some things. International lover. I can't take nothing from Prince, but Michael is from the videos growing up, and maybe because I can share Michael with my kids, I couldn't share the Prince. So it's Michael for me, hands down.
All right, Quake.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Prince, man. I like Michael. I think he is the GOAT, but with regards to what's been applicable and how I've used it for bad, I gotta go with Prince, man. I gotta go with Prince.
What you been lighting candles and stuff, Quake?
Hey, man, that's
Some
things are not to be discussed.
Hey,
Look,
hey.
but Prince, all right with me.
Rich, what you got?
I just look at these two guys and I think how blessed we were to be growing up while they were both, doing their thing. And I remember watching Purple Rain, me, you, and Eric. We watched it 2 or 3 times at his house on that VHS. But
you watch it over and over.
Yeah. So I think I have to agree with Quake. Quake was saying that Mike was the GOAT. He is the GOAT, but I love the fact that Prince was a hooper. He could sing. Y'all know the shirts and blouses story.
Blouses. Right.
And then he was a deep thinker. Like he was talking about some of the chemtrails and stuff back then.
I remember that.
I really like Prince. He would be my favorite.
Bet. So, Kid?
So maybe Rich messed me up because he said Purple Rain, and while he's talking about all this, all I can think about is Apollonia. But okay. But back to the question.
Hey, Kid, big boobs and big ass at the same time.
Right, Apollonia. And maybe it's because you went Thriller, but in the first song that popped in my head was Baby Be Mine. And so I gotta go with MJ.
All right. Huh?
So anybody who knows me knows, like, until album number 22-ish or so, I had every piece of music Prince ever made. And I think while Michael was very, very talented in hearing music and arranging music in his head and somehow getting his producers to portray that and then bringing his voice to it, Prince had those same skills, and then he could play the instruments. And he could also write the songs, and he could also conduct the band. And I think his talent level across the board, while MJ was the greatest entertainer we ever seen on stage, I think from a talent level across the board, Prince got him covered all day. So I'm team Purple on this one.
All right, bet. So I think we got was that 3-2? I believe it's 3 for Prince, 2 for Michael. Right? I'm gonna go with.
Come on, Tupac, spit it out.
I'm gonna go with Michael Jackson simply from a which one could I listen to their music more of. Prince is for me, it's like he got bangers. I mean, I can't deny it, but I look at Michael Jackson from all the way back when he was a kid. That part of his catalog, up through, his final stuff. I could probably listen to more of his stuff kind of back to back than Prince.
There you go.
These are just two geniuses, though, man. I mean, like Hump said, Prince could play, and then when he produced, he could play the music, he could sing, he put groups together, and then he produced his own movie, wrote, directed. The talent is just is crazy. It's just crazy.
Paul, when we get off the podcast, I'm gonna send you Sign of the Times. I'm gonna send you Sign of the Times and have you listen to that tonight. And that's
all right, bet. So I think it came out 3-3 on this, so it balanced out. So let me. The next one is interesting. So you got to think back in the day. This is back in the day. You're at a gym jam, or you go to your club, and let's say she looked like this, but her feet look like this.
I'm gonna tell her to leave her socks on.
Are you smashing if that's the case? And Rich, we're gonna let you go first on this one. You ain't smashing, you skipping, Rich?
Are you talking about the The Richard from college?
Yeah, the Richard from college. We know it's not now. The Richard from college.
Okay, yeah, well, no doubt that would have been a notch on the.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. So you hit it. Okay. All right. Yeah. Tom, what you gonna do, man?
I would have gave him my Jordan and kept it moving.
You would have gave her what?
My Jordan and kept it moving.
You gave some Jordan socks.
Some puffy socks.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna cover them things up and go to work, dude.
Hey, I never would have seen them feet. Yeah.
All right, Hump, you go next, man. We'll get you next.
Two things: quadruple smash, and two, I ain't never gonna see her feet. So,
Quake, what you doing?
Hey P, after Jim Jam, I ain't seen her feet, brother. And if I did, I would gladly give her some slippers or some shoes to put on.
Oh my gosh!
I'm getting.
Kid, what you doing, kid?
P, I'm with the boys unless I've seen them feet, and then I'm with you. God, no. Because anybody like that, I'd be like,
hey,
I just think.
Paul.
Yeah.
Do me a favor. Go back to that picture so we get straight.
Please, I want to make you just show the feet.
That's North Carolina light skin right there. Now go ahead and say that again.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna get over that real quick.
I'm with Kid on this one, dog. I gotta let that go.
Paul, you act like you sending them off to war and you examining.
I don't care.
Look at him.
Hands, hands and feet. Go ahead,
let's be honest. If her feet look like that, you'd be like, what the f is wrong with her?
Hey, man.
That's true.
Hey, come on. You
be like, say that after the fact.
She might not have had a means to have comfortable fitting shoes that prevented her feet from getting that way. Come on, now.
Dog. Fungus ain't got nothing to do with you there.
Paul, can we switch back to the other picture though?
Go back to the other picture though, real quick.
We ain't gotta lock it.
Okay, now let's talk about the attributes.
Yeah, I ain't changing my mind.
And if you start adding up the attributes and you get down to the feet, I promise you, your ratio gonna be better than that.
No, I'm telling you, if my wife had bad feet, bad hands, I probably would have never been. It wouldn't have got past that wave that she gave me. Hands and feet.
You ain't saying nothing about natural. You were talking about Jim Jam and
Jim Jam, ring on the hand, dinner. I don't care. You better have some.
You sounding like Shallow Hal, man.
Club 29.
Shallow Hal. There you go. Shallow Hal.
Look.
Once I see you, I went back to the gym.
Look, if I'm a guy, I keep my feet looking decent. You need to keep your feet looking decent too. I'm sorry. Now look,
hey, I'm a guy, and I've overworn some shoes that I should have went in and got the next size up. So I ain't gonna complain about nobody's feet.
So look, this is the last slide, and this is the most risque of the slides.
Damn, more risque than we already had.
No, we already go catch hell this weekend.
Hey, my phone's dead, y'all.
All right, well, let's get this one in there before you cop out, Rich. You know you got a charger somewhere. Look.
My phone about to go dead.
Wow.
Oh, that's easy.
Doggy or missionary? Doggy or missionary?
That's easy.
That's easy.
I thought you had something about risque. What?
Quake, you go first on this one, Quake.
Straight back shots, baby.
Oh my goodness.
Thumb in. Yeah.
Hey, ain't mad at you. Ain't mad at you, Quake.
That's easy, dog.
Oh no, kid, what you rolling with, kid?
Can I say both?
No, you gotta pick one.
That first,
one or the
right
other.
picture too personal, Paul. The right picture too personal, man.
What are the other kids?
Just so I'm clear, are we still dealing with the same parameters that we were looking for the last decision?
Nah, feet. Yeah.
What do feet look like?
I ain't talking in the field. I'm just talking about. I'm talking about the environment, time frame. I'm just. What are we working with?
Yeah. You can do this anytime.
We're talking about back in the day.
Yeah, we gotta leave it there, right?
y'all ain't that old now. Y'all not
that's
that
what I'm
old.
saying. We left that there. That set our environment that we're talking about.
It's one of the two. So you pick your time frame. One of the two.
I picked the right.
So you take a missionary.
They give a missionary.
All right. Ty, what you going with, man? What you going with, Ty?
Thanks for clearing that up, Ty. Thanks for
I got you, kid.
Exactly. Pause, nigga. Pause. So.
I got you. I was gonna say I got you back, but I can't say that.
Oh shoot.
No, she fine. I'm going. I'm doing some missionary work.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Bet. All right. Hump.
This is not politically correct, but to quote the great philosopher Robert Kelly, don't hit it hard from the back, roll around the front. Going from the back, bro.
No. I think I'm probably going back as well. Probably going Doggy as well. Now it's funny that where the world Rich go? I know he ain't disappeared that quick.
Yes, he said this.
You lost Rich.
Come on, Rich.
He had an early exit.
You got a charger. He didn't want to answer.
He had
an early exit.
He must be saying picture number one.
Oh man.
The pictures are kind of biased, Paul.
They are.
Hey man, it is what it is, man. You got to go with what you can find. Shoot.
Nah, I'm talking about that's what Rich would have said.
Oh well, yeah, probably yeah. Yeah, true.
Did Paul answer?
He not coming back for the Christian conversation.
Yeah, I said back. I said back.
Oh, you did. So we're gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. So I thank you, brothers, for actually answering all the questions and not copping out this time. All right, then y'all might catch some hell later on tonight and this week, but hey, it's for the greater good.
And it might work out for you.
It might.
Good Lord, the Thunder up 35.
Yeah.
Blame the producer.
Jeez.
Oh, hold on. Rich is back.
Rich
is back.
There he is.
What you going with, Rich?
I'm ready for the next portion of the program.
What you going with? You a panelist, man. What you going with, Rich?
Number one.
So on the left, we talk about back shots, right?
He said he's not gonna say it, but yeah.
I can't believe.
Do I look frozen?
I can't believe you cop it out, Rich. I can't believe you cop it out, man.
He said he had to get off the camera to gather himself.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so we've come to the end of this episode. So we're going to throw in our parting shots for this week. So why don't we start with Hup? Why don't you go first with your parting shot for this week?
I don't have anything prepared for this week. I will say that it's good for us to get back together. I appreciate you guys, and this is we are continuing to touch on things that are relevant, and again, it's always good to get different perspectives. It's always good to get the viewpoints out there. But I do believe that we should, no matter what side of the fence you sit on, continue to be vigilant and continue to search for the facts, and make sure that you're keeping the people around you that you love and in your mind and in perspective when you're deciding how you're going to react to the things that are happening, and protect your home and protect your folks you love. And that's the bottom line.
Okay, perfect. All right, Rich.
Gentlemen, I don't know if you've heard the story about a young lady by the name of Larisha Thompson down in South Carolina. She had 2 children. She was a sister, hardworking sister, who was shot and killed by 6 illegal immigrants from Honduras. And I am waiting for Al Sharpton, Benjamin Crump, BLM, and any other person who was willing to go down and march on her behalf. But it doesn't fit the narrative. And that's an example of why I have a distrust of the media. It's only been covered on one major media network. It's a sister. Ain't we supposed to stick together? Ain't we supposed to have our sisters back?
We should.
So,
no.
It's
Do they get a fair
another
trial?
example. It's another example of many that was already exposed in this conversation. We got to be careful about who we listen to, who we watch, and that aligns with me. I mean, I gotta watch. Yeah, I've been corrected. Like I said, you guys did a good job of letting me know about stuff, and I will. Going back to the whole apologizing, because Instagram only lets you keep something up for 24 hours. It's kind of hard to go back and say, hey, I got this wrong. I guess you could delete it off your thing, but I haven't done that.
Just post another story that says, hey, I apologize. Either way, all right.
I don't know how to type, Paul. That's my piece.
All right, Kid.
Yeah, mine's pretty quick. I think it's official. We can say that Doge was the dumbest shit ever. 3 reasons, right? You don't believe me. First, it has undermined America's soft power around the globe, unquestionably, right? Number 2, it hurt people, especially here in my community. A lot of people lost their jobs, all kinds of stuff for, from this effort. And 3, and probably from a most ludicrous perspective, it essentially saved nothing. All this shit that we all went through, the impact that it has on the so-called spin. In fact, Elon Musk, who's got to be as stupid as he is wealthy, he spent all this in the big beautiful bill, has undermined a whole lot of stuff by putting some of the stuff he cut right back in the government spending. So it's official. He is the dumbest shit that's ever.
Good. Quake.
Yeah, gentlemen, in the last several weeks, I have attended several funerals, memorials. There's been several people that we've known that's passed in our age group. I've seen on Facebook as well. I just want us to continue to keep health at the forefront of our lives, right? Physicals, annual checkups, prostate exams. Our families need us, and we need to be here for them to continue to pour into them and be sounding boards of reason, leaders, husbands, fathers. It's disheartening, man. And I tell you, it's hard to see people our age that are leaving, and they're leaving at an alarming rate. This is not drug related. It's not gun related. It's health concerns, right? So I encourage us all to make it a priority so that we can sustain and have longevity. That's it.
I feel you. Ty?
Wow. Quake kind of hit it on the head. I know yesterday or the day before I sent out a couple of our classmates who passed away. I know Brother Lee in Raleigh area. I mean, I was watching the Durham news, and the tribute they gave him today was just told the story on how special that young man was and what he did in a short period of time. We had some classmates that we knew who knew him well, who said he was actually going in this week to have the matter looked into. But it's one thing that, they say at church all the time, it's not on our time. Even though you might think it is, we're not in control at all because, along with that, those issues, look how many car accidents recently. It's prime season, so if you have high schoolers in graduation time and it's getting warm, just talk to them. I have a couple college students home from school now, and just talk to them. This is that season. Start getting warm outside. That's when things start to happen. So keep them prayed up, and
amen.
Just talk to them, no doubt.
Absolutely.
All right, Hump.
I went first, Paul.
Did you go first? Oh shoot!
I didn't say much. That's why you don't remember.
My
But I went first.
All right. So mine is a little more laid back. Let me see if I can add this here. So I've been watching this YouTube series called The Front Porch, and some of you probably saw the Snoop episode, but this Melanie Fiona edition and Young Dro, dog. I've listened to both of those a couple of times. It's a very ingenious idea. It's a guy has a house. It's actually in Maryland, I think, Ken. And he brings on various entertainers, and they perform with the live band. But this Melanie Fiona joint is, it's kind of unexplainable that she doesn't have more music out there than she does. Her voice is phenomenal. Her stage presence is phenomenal. The band was phenomenal. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. Beginning to end, it's ridiculous. And the Young Dro part, Young Dro don't get the credit he deserves, but Young Dro is a performer. He's a real, what they call street dudes, but it comes out, he's a true performer. But the Young Dro episode is outstanding as well. You see what, it kind of reminds me, or makes me think about how these people are, at one point, they're just teenagers or young people trying to build their craft, and they develop their craft to such a high level. And when you see them, you say that person is a true professional. So, even though Melanie Fiona is not hadn't been around for doesn't have catalogs and catalogs, outstanding performer. And Young Dro, even though he might have been high at some point, he was doing some of these songs. That dude is an official, straight from the streets to the stage type of dude, and his performance is outstanding. So if you get to watch that, the Locks was decent. They got Snoop with the whole set. Snoop's set was not even because of him taking Trump's money, but it was very so-so. But these two were very standout in my opinion. So if you get a chance, watch those, called The Front Porch. Excellent series. That's my party shot for this week. So
hey, and when the current administration shuts down PBS, we won't have Tiny Desk, so this might be all we have left.
I forgot about that. Tiny Desk. Tiny Desk was and what's my man's name? Juvenile. Dog.
Yeah.
And one last thing I want to say, the reason I mention those is because I'm starting to realize how valuable music is to society. Like, with all the stuff that's going on, music can make you forget about everything that's going on. So you turn that Melanie Fiona on, Rich, turn it on and listen to it with Travella. Just snuggle up. I'm telling you, it's out of this world.
Well, you look like you got some memories that were made with that thing already.
Nah, it's dope. It's something you can watch.
That's okay. I might be used to that tonight.
Yeah, that Young Dro a little different.
Yeah, when you get up tomorrow morning, listen to Marvin Gaye, What's Going On.
There we go.
Listen to the album.
One of the things
right on point.
One of the things I hate most about this administration, It's one of them. There's probably a million things. But is Rich's guy taking over the Kennedy Center. And Quake, you and I have talked about this. There is nothing like seeing an artist, whether it's hip hop, a real vocalist, R&B, whatever it is, at the Kennedy Center with the National Symphony Orchestra. And right now, with it under Trump's control, that's essentially done. Right. A lot of people don't want to mess with it anymore. Personally, I guess on my membership there, and to your point, P, I miss it.
Yeah, I feel you. Well, gentlemen, thank you for another outstanding episode. Really appreciate your input, your insight. And we're on to the next.
My crew too fresh, you mad, huh? See us flexing in these streets, you mad, huh? Diversity of thought.